Welcome back, and today we're going to be reviewing the Orbital Knives Fornax. I had the pleasure to meet Mr. Eddie Martinez at Blade Show this year. Talk about a nice individual, not to mention super funny. And I got to apologize to Eddie. He sent me home with this one after Blade Show, and I apologize, man, for just getting to this review. I've been so backed up. I'm trying everybody, but better late than never, at least in my opinion. The Fornax is designed by Mr. Paul Munko of Munko Knives. I can definitely see some of his aesthetic vibe in this one. The OEM on the Fornax is Kaiser Knives, and this is a nice full-size EDC knife. It's coming in at 8.15 inches overall. It has a 3.65-inch modified drop point blade, nice raw stone wash finish, a long top swedge that comes down to thin out that very needle-like tip there. That's going to be great for piercing into a bag of potato chips. Doing detailed drag cuts, you can do them. You're going to have to come up a little bit, but not bad. Should still be a fairly versatile blade shape. Got this nice little thumb scoop right here with some grippy jimping. Really locks you in. Choke back like this. And you can kind of cheat up a little bit. We'll talk about that later. Got the Orbital Knives logo here and the Munko Knives logo on this side. You have dual thumb studs. They are in the cutting path a little bit, but like I always say, that's never something I've ever noticed to be an issue. And your blade steel on this one is CPMS 45 VN. And I gotta admit, I'm a fan of S45. I have had really good experiences so far. Not to mention, they rock well the S45 to 62 HRC. I'm sure that's a plus or minus one. Not to mention, you have nice thin blade stock at 0.10 and a flat grind that comes down at the thinnest portion to around 17 thousandths behind the edge. So this one should be a great slicer, and we're going to find out. Man, this one came with a remarkable edge out of box. Always something that I love to see. Too many come with just subpar edges. Just makes no sense to me. This one also has outstanding blade geometry. It's got thin blade stock. It's ground thin. The belly's not too crazy. So doing in-hand cuts is very easy. I'm able to choke up, and that's where I decided to stay anytime I was doing in-hand cuts. Just so you're closer to that edge, I can control it a lot better. I'm not hitting a dead spot in the edge or anything. And yeah, so far so good. Now we're testing the ergos. Start out with some light pressure, just kind of seeing how that edge wants to bite into the wood. I am having to use very light pressure so I don't bite into it deep. And then we slowly start to increase. I'm still choked up, and I'm able to get a good bit of control. Now the handle is a little narrow, so prolonged cutting like this is going to start to fatigue your wrist and forearms a little quicker than something that was a little bit thicker, more hand feeling. But yeah, no hot spots that I really noticed. And this is where I really could tell how sharp that edge was, especially by that tip. It's nice and thin. You can see me swap to the pointer finger grip every now and again just because it's very, very nice and sharp. And I'm using the least amount of pressure to get through the scissor rope that I possibly can. That's how I can tell, you know, if it's very, very sharp, it's gonna grab a hold to that fibrous scissor rope immediately. And that's whenever I'm talking about bite. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And this one has the perfect amount of belly to do these cuts on a flat cutting surface. The pinch grip is nice and comfortable. And anytime I start this test and it goes like this, I'm a happy camper, because I've had so many knives that I've tested along the way, thousands at this point. And yeah, whenever they're not sharp or they don't have bite, just kind of skates off the top of that scissor rope, that's when I get those blisters, and it makes me want to go take the knife and throw it out in the woods behind my house. But yeah, not the case with this one. So far, outstanding job. I'm just showing you can use that needle tip to do detail work if you want, or you can just use the belly, but I prefer using that scalpel of a tip. That edge never once felt like it slowed down at all. It went strong all the way to the very end, and you can kind of tell by how fast I'm going through this stuff. And I can usually tell after I edit. I always edit at the same speed and how fast I end in the test. And boy, I blasted through this one. So excellent job. to Kaiser for sending out a very sharp knife, and Orbital Knives and Munko Knives for the design. And this one was wicked sharp out of the box. It sliced very, very well. Let's take a look at the deployment in action. So you have dual thumb studs, like I said. Reverse flick, in my opinion, is where it's at. Very smooth action out of box. Riding on cage ceramic bearings. Ceramic detent ball. Of course, you got a nice snappy thumb action. Slow roll. You can access on the left side rather easily. However, this one is tip up right hand carry only, unfortunately, for my lefties. Thumb studs are nice and comfortable, easily accessible. Now we're going to get to one of my first nitpicks, and that is this little point right here. You have a very sharp choil right here, and it is rounded over, so that tip's not super sharp or anything, but whenever I go to flip this with the thumb, my thumb's landing like that on that point and can be a little bit uncomfortable. Now, it's not really an issue for me because the majority of the time I'm reverse flicking this one anyway, but something I did notice. Now, I have had better luck whenever I'm paying attention and I put my thumb on top of it, top of that thumb stud. It's not really bad. But whenever I'm just like not paying attention and I flip it like that, my thumb rubs against like that and can cause a little bit of discomfort. But it may not be an issue for you at all. Just something I wanted to point just in case. But beautiful action other than that. Very snappy, very smooth. Take a look at the handle area. So you have a stone wash tie frame, which I love seeing. You don't see as much raw stone wash tie. You see a lot of bead blasted or dark blasted. So it's nice to see that. Contrasts well with your titanium pivot collar and your little tie inlay right there with the little venting. It is nice and flush. You have the same anode tie backspacer with plenty of different facets, a hidden lanyard spot in the back, line screwed, milled tie pocket clip. The clip is a little stiff because of how short it is. However, one thing I love seeing on this, as you can see, that lock bar is not breaking up this clean look right here. Put it on the inside, and if you look right here, it looks like there's no lock bar insert. However, if you look inside there, you'll see it. So they did a nice job of hiding that, keeping the lock side just as clean as the show side. Those vents go through and through. Your pivot screw and your body screws are all Torx T8. The only T6 that I've found is thumb studs. I'm not worried about that. Possibly the pocket clip, but you gotta take this apart to get to it anyway. Not something I'll probably ever be removing, so not an issue. You have some nice internal pocketing on the show side and on the lock side. And then you have the milled out pocket here. And you have a fairly narrow knife, keeping this one nice and lightweight at 3.2 ounces. And there's your balance point. So good job on that balance point. Lock up on my knife sitting at around, I'd say 50% or so, maybe 60. Access to the lock bar is excellent. The show side choil comes down lower than the lock side. You got these nice chamfers there, so it's nice and comfortable for me to get my thumb. Very nicely done. No matter how I do it, I can use the tip of my thumb easily, and I can use the side of my thumb easily. Your lockup, absolutely no play any direction, like a bank vault. Love seeing that. The ergos on this one, like I was talking about earlier, you do have somewhat of a forward choil area if you want to kind of cheat up, which I did do whenever I was breaking down the boxes and when I was doing the wood shaving. For the most part, I thought it was really comfortable, whether I'm choked up or choked back. I mean, you got a nice lock-in spot here with this little thumb ramp. That jimping locks you in nicely as well. I don't really notice a pocket clip, and they did a good job of knocking off any of the sharp spots, any of the points. They rounded them all over. You have a lot going on here. All these facets everywhere, all the chamfers, all the sharp pokey spots are done well. This reverse grip, in my opinion, is pretty darn comfortable also. And if for some reason you want to do the reverse gas station knife fight grip, it's very comfortable. Kind of sit in that choil area right there, round it over, stick it into a log, make a feather stick, into the bag of potato chips, whatever you want to do. This pinch grip is comfortable. I can get down to that tip if I need to put some more pressure to it. There was no glaring hot spots. Quick size comparison. As you can see, it's in the middle of the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And it's just a little shorter than the Spyderco PM2 and a little bigger than the Benchmade 940. And lastly, next to two more Munko designs, it's a little smaller than the Kaiser Clairvoyant. And it's just a hair bigger than the Concept Quasar. Now, being that absolutely no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? First off, there's no lefty love here. And next, we talked about it. This little point right here is a little bit uncomfortable whenever I'm flipping it out, just because of how my thumb lands on top of that. Not the biggest deal for me, because 90% of the time I reverse flick this one just because it's that much more enjoyable, and may not be an issue for you. The thumb studs are in the cutting path, but like I always say, I've never had that be an issue ever. And lastly, even though you may have a little bit of sharpening life here, you can see that plunge grind comes down right here. So this side's fine, but if you look on this side, it's already starting to come out a little bit, and it's going to go up this thicker plunge grind right there. So it'd have been nice to either have this go up some and out so you could have more sharpening life, and bring that plunge grind all the way back to here so you can have more life. Not the biggest deal. I can easily fix that because the stop pin's not an issue. You have an internal stop pin on a track, so not really worried about it. This knife comes in at $199. Do I think it's worth that? Yes, I do. It feels like a very well dialed knife. And not to mention, Orbital Knives is a very new company. This was, I think, their second design. They had the Callisto that I never really got to check out. It's a smaller, more budget friendly knife. And then they had this one that I know of. And their order size is not going to be huge. I'm sure his order size isn't 5,000 or anything. So I know personally that it's going to cost a lot more to make a smaller run. So I think $199, S45VN, tie, and you have a collaboration with Munko Knives. Very well dialed knife, great action, sliced great, it's comfortable, and it's unique. You can usually expect a nice, unique design when it comes to Munko Knives. I'm really glad I was able to check this one out, because when I first looked at it, I didn't really like the overall design, and that's fine. We don't all like the same thing. But once I got it and started using it, carrying it, and then did the testing, yeah, I grew fond of this one. It's got a great action. It's slim in the pocket. It's lightweight. And I like S45VN. It performed great. It sliced well. So if you're interested in picking up one of these, I will link it down below in the description. If you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me down below as well, and I'll do my best to get back with you. Sorry if I had to cut this one a little short. My voice is starting to teeter-totter again, and I don't want it to go out. All right, guys and girls, remember, keep these blades sharp, smile more.